Cybersecurity today is no longer a narrow technology concern. It has become a defining issue for economic stability, operational continuity, and global trust. As AI comes to dominate the future of global commerce, cyber risk now carries real consequences for productivity, public confidence, and competitive advantage. We are here in Davos for the annual summit to speak with Christy Wyatt, President and CEO of Absolute Security. In this discussion, we'll find out why cyber resilience is key for organizations to withstand disruption, recover quickly, and continue operating even when systems fail. Christy, welcome to Davos, and of course, welcome to the World Economic Forum. It's wonderful to have you here with us in the studio today.
Thank you so much for having me.
Now, the digital business landscape, it's changing rapidly. AI is presenting new risks, and cyber threats, they're showing no signs of slowing down. So since you have a front row seat to all of this, why don't you share your perspective of how you see the threat landscape evolving?
I think this is very much a topic of conversation as we go through the discussions this week, because you have a number of different things that are coming together at exactly the same time. We have a backdrop of a lot of geopolitical tension and instability, and it's very dynamic right now. We already had an accelerating cyber risk landscape for either geopolitical reasons or financial reasons, and now we've added AI to the mix, which is really an amplifier of almost all of those things. And so as we see each one of these trends kind of coming together, right, we see the number of attacks going up, we see the amount of time we have to respond increasingly sort of coming down. And increasingly, we have to assume that this is going to continue. And we have to think about the broader resilience of our organizations, not just how we prevent the cyber risk from happening, but how we actually keep our business whole as we face them and inevitably face some of them directly.
Would you go so far as to say it's the perfect storm right now?
I would, but then, karma has a way of surprising us. There'll be another one around the corner, but it certainly is a very unique time for our industry. And I think every year we see it's sort of accelerating. I think we've really seen AI come into its own this year. And so now we're seeing this as a tool that's being used by both sides. There's a lot of talk in our industry about, AI assisting in the attack and then AI being used in assisting the response. I think there's a third dynamic where AI is playing a role where we're just introducing a lot of new technology into these organizations. So as organizations are playing with some of these capabilities or trialing some of their own AI strategies within their own business, they're adding new tools, new technologies, and that's going to create new levels of fragility, new kinds of vulnerabilities. So yes, it's very much the perfect storm.
Now, stolen credentials and human error continue to dominate breach entry points. Why are traditional security models still struggling to address this?
One of the things we write about in our Cyber Resilience Index is the broader fragility of the devices we use. Every year we think about what are the new kinds of attacks that could happen on these devices, and we do what all good practitioners do, we add more technology. And so it's like anything else. It's like the game of pickup sticks when you were a child. The more you add to the pile, the more fragile it's going to become. And that also gives a broader attack surface for folks that are looking for a way in. It is more frequently not what we'd call a robust attack on the organization. A lot of the attacks that we see are people who have actually valid credentials. They actually have a viable path into the organization through some other means. Somebody clicked on the wrong thing, their credentials were stolen. It makes it even more difficult to detect.
So Christy, we hear a lot about attackers using AI, but IBM, in fact, reports that most organizations experiencing AI-related incidents actually lack governance and access controls. Do you think AI is the problem, or is it how we're deploying and governing AI the real issue here?
The way to think about AI is again, it's an amplifier of good things and of bad things, and is a new set of technologies. So when folks are talking about some kinds of the new risk that AI is introducing into an organization, sometimes they're talking about shadow AI. So it may not be the tools that your IT organization has rolled out. It might be that a user's been logging in or downloading their own set of tools that are AI enabled, that are doing something novel with the data that they have access to. I think the other risk that we see in some of these instances is where people are deploying capabilities. And as you have a number of agents that are interacting with one another, each inheriting permissions about what they can and can't access sort of uniquely, you're going to have some unusual combinations. And so this is what I meant earlier about increasing the overall fragility. It's just new, right? And because of the speed, it really does, again, amplify the issue, right? Whenever we add new technology onto an already fragile stack, you're going to see some breakage and you're going to see some risk. But when it's happening so quickly and so broadly, and you have an organization and there's lots of different departments that are deploying new tools and new strategies at the same time, you're going to have some moments. And I think that's why we really focus on this concept of resilience and being able to sort of wind things back. You want organizations to be free to try new things. We want to be able to get the benefit out of these capabilities, but there has to be sort of a little bit of safety that says when we get it wrong, we can get you back up and running really, really quickly so that the experiment doesn't become the thing that compromises you.
So let's follow up on that, because CrowdStrike reports that many organizations can't actually recover within 24 hours after a ransomware attack. Meanwhile, your company's recent research shows that some are taking as long as 2 weeks to recover, which seems incredibly long in the world of cybersecurity, and losing upwards of $5 million per incident. Why is downtime becoming the defining cost of cyber incidents?
I think we have to look at the bigger picture of cyber risk. As an industry, we're very guilty of talking about the risk, the breach, who the bad guy is, how did they get in, what data did they steal. But when an organization gets compromised, they can't operate. And so whether it's because they can't build cars or because they can't take orders or they can't run payroll, the business stops. And so if you take a look at the cost of the breach, and a lot of the reports we say the average cost of a breach is maybe $2, $3, $4 million, I believe that's massively understated, because if you think about the real cost of a breach, it's how long you couldn't serve your customers, how long you couldn't operate as an entity. And I think that's really why downtime really becomes the biggest metric of a breach. It's actually even a little worse than what you just described. I wrote an article a few months ago that talked about what we call the cybersecurity poverty line, that says, the majority of businesses, at least in North America, are small businesses. And I think the statistic is 1 in 5 won't recover at all, right? If you take that much time down where you can't actually function, you just decrease the odds of your ability to come back at all.
And it's not just a matter of hours now. In fact, it's seconds that are critical.
The time to respond on events, I think I saw something this morning that said it was sub 1 minute this past year in certain kinds of attacks. So it depends on the kind of attack, but yes. And then if we add AI back into the conversation, right? This is where the world gets interesting. If you have an AI-assisted event, could be ransomware, could be an IT event, whatever it happens to be, and you have other tools that are trying to remediate that event, you have a lot of automation sort of bouncing off one another. And so the visibility about what's actually happening in that instance, you start to lose the integrity of that picture. So you don't really have the time you used to have to sit down and look at the data and look at the forensics. You'll have to look at that later, right? For now, your focus has got to be getting people back up and online, and how do we kind of get back to work?
So Christy, if perimeter defenses aren't enough anymore, what does a cyber resilience first strategy really look like for global enterprises and companies?
I don't think we ever want to lose our focus on the perimeter first and foremost. I think we are big proponents that you should be taking a look, especially as new technologies are coming into your organization. What are the new kinds of risks and threats that adds to your environment, and how are you testing for those? So that investment needs to be made. But that investment exclusively is not going to protect you. You could make yourself 97, 98, 99% resilient to a bad event happening, but that 1 or 2%, you really only need one. You only need one to slip through for it to be your organization that's in the Wall Street Journal. So I really think organizations need to be thinking about their broader resilience strategy. And so when they're thinking about what are the bad things that could happen, and do I have the right controls in place? And today that means, what are the AI strategies that I'm deploying, and how would I hit the kill switch if something bad started to happen? The second is, how do I assess kind of what needs to come up and back online first? And then how do I practice this? And we're big proponents, we talk to organizations about this all the time. If you didn't pre-contemplate what your resilience strategy was, if you didn't think ahead, who needs to get back online first? How are you going to get them back online in minutes, not weeks, days, hours, longer period. If you haven't incorporated that into your playbooks, into your tabletop exercises, when that moment comes, you're just not going to be ready. And folks, that's oftentimes where organizations choke. They panic and they say, oh my gosh, something bad happened, and everybody's focused on what is the bad thing just happened. You got to get the business back up and online. And folks haven't rehearsed that as much as they rehearsed trying to find the bad thing.
And that's where you, of course, come in so that they can get back up and running as quickly as possible. Now, Christy, before I let you go, of course, cyber resilience is becoming a key topic here at the World Economic Forum. So, final thoughts, what are you hoping to get out of the conversations this week here in Davos?
I think we're very passionate about a lot of the conversations that are happening this week. As I talked about the 3 pillars, right? I think there's a lot of geopolitical discussions, a lot of tension and instability. I think there's a lot of new technology. Of course, everyone's talking about AI. And there's a very large focus on resilience and how do we make ourselves not immune, but stable in light of these 3 trends. And so I think our focus here really this week is to raise that awareness and really sort of bring what we know and see every day into those discussions.
There's certainly a lot on the agenda here at the WEF and of course on your own plate. Thank you so much. Once again, it's been a pleasure speaking with you here today.
Thank you.
It's clear that the future of cybersecurity will increasingly involve integrating cyber resilience. Absolute Security sits at the heart of this with a clear mission to create a safer future for its clients, one that is focused on rapid recovery and continuity after an attack for both companies and organizations.